you decide to make a really difficult decision, not two difficult decisions. You decide you're going to keep the baby, and you decide to do something else. I think this is so important because I don't hear people talking about this, because and maybe this is why. Maybe it's the the most logical answer, and I don't hear people talking about it much, but adoption. So you decide to make a very difficult choice, and you decide, I'm not sure in my present state that it's wise for me to care for this child, and you decide to place your brand new baby son up for adoption. So I know this is a little bit of a soft spot in your heart, but I think it's really important to talk about. So you just share as much as you would like to share about the decision, what was going on in your head as you made that decision, and then what took place.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure how to feel. I had met a lady I was singing with a choir at Lee, and so we had gone to Maryland, and she prayed for me, and so she really just took the reins and kind of became my mother, only because I didn't give my mother that chance to become my mother, because I didn't want anyone to know that I was pregnant. So I hid my pregnancy from everybody. At this time, it was probably March or April, and then she was the one that brought up the adoption. And so I said, "There's no way I could do that. I could never give my baby to somebody else." And she said, "You were contemplating abortion."
Yeah.
And so I mean, why wouldn't you consider this? And so after thinking about it and hearing her heart on that, I decided, okay, maybe that's something that I really need to consider. And so she gave me a name of a couple in Ohio that were looking to adopt a baby. And so she said, "Here's the phone number. And I know this pastor, I know their pastor. I don't know them, but if you feel like that's the route you want to go, then you'd call them." And so I waited a couple days and then just said, well, what's it going to hurt just to meet them?
Yeah.
So they came down and I spent time with them and really fell in love with them. They were in the perfect position to have a child. So they had their careers and they were established in their church. And so I just knew that they were settled, and so I thought, wow, I think this is the right thing for me to do. And so I went ahead when they came one weekend and told them, "I'm going to choose you to have my son." I still at that point didn't understand the consequences of that choice.
Yeah.
And here I say good consequences, bad consequences from it, because it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. And I suffered greatly. Because of the loss of my child, which that didn't pop up till years later. And it popped up and kind of had a connection with the police world, which if you'll remind me, I'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But so I went through the process and as we got closer, about 3 weeks before I was going to have my son, I wrote my parents a letter and I told them, "Hey, I got pregnant in California and I'm going to have a baby here. I hope that you'll forgive me. But I've planned to place him for adoption and found a family." Now the good thing was that I was going to have the baby at the end of July. When May came, everyone left from Lee and went home, and I stayed there. My stomach then popped out. Nobody knew I was pregnant. I hid from everybody, and so then when July came and my parents knew about it, they were very forgiving and loved me through that. But it was right in the middle of my mom moving my grandmother across the country to Virginia. So my mom sent my sister. And she was with me the whole time. And being in the hospital and birthing the baby and having the parents come, it was something else that night when the nurse came in and said, "Hey, we're going to take your baby from you tonight, and so you can get some rest." And you're a father, so you understand how tired your wife was from going through that. And so I said, no. I said, I'm going to keep the baby with me. And so I prayed over him and I spoke over him and I declared over him and I asked him to forgive me. And I said, you won't understand this. And there might be a day in your life where you might not want to know who I am. You may be totally secure and say, this is my mom and this is my dad. And that's all I need to know. But I just want you not to feel abandoned and rejected, and I just wanted the opportunity to tell him, look, I didn't give you to somebody else because I didn't want you. I gave you to somebody else because I could not care for you at that time in my life. And so that was my fear, that he would feel rejected or abandoned. And so when 5:00 hit, the family was supposed to come at 5:30 the next day and pick him up on July 31st of 1996. At 5 p.m., I experienced something. I had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
I was shaking. The tips of my fingers hurt. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I had no idea what it was, but I knew that I hated the feeling. And so I prayed and I asked the Lord, I said, God, you've got to show up because I cannot do this. And within just a few minutes, I felt the peace of the Holy Spirit. It's really hard to explain, but it felt like as if somebody was pouring warm water on me. And it just kind of came all the way out to my fingers, to my toes, and just calmed me and just was a great presence, And so they wheeled me out and I put my son in the car seat and I watched as they drove off. And when I went home, and I hope this isn't too explicit, but my breasts, soon became full of milk and I didn't have a baby there. And so my body was saying, you have a baby, but he wasn't there. Yeah. I had the planner that said it's a boy on the table and all the signs, but he was missing. And so that was really difficult for me. But I had a decision to make. And when I came to that crossroads, I was like, look, I can be sad about this decision, or I can be joyful that somebody took my son and is raising him and loving him. And so I had to make the decision to jump back into school and to continue focusing on Josh and finishing and then going on to what the next part of my life was going to be, graduating from college.
You can catch brand new episodes of Indie Thinker with Reed Huberman every Monday and weekly bonus episodes to keep you thinking throughout the week. But you have to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new episodes drop. If you enjoy this content, make sure to like this video and share it with friends.